Hi, everyone, and welcome to Regine's podcast. Symviosi finally wakes up to humanity. Once upon a time, there was a village, almost a city. In fact, an entire community that has seen many children grow up on these lands. That's why some of them are determined to fight this famous battle of renewal, while others are not. This city was called Symviosi. It had many friends in the world of the four lands and the four seas. Their names were Alcine, the queen of the white elves, Lyrcostre, the black wolf, Raya, the daughter of the sea, and many others. And yet, the oligarchs were not attracted by the city's serene vitality, seeing it as a small town of little interest. Yes, because for that you had to go north, to Catam, that great cosmopolitan megalopolis, where it was not essential to live with the good manners customary to humanity, because there were none there. Only the whimsical creators of clones of all kinds and other brainwashing machines put on a permanent show there. Yes, only there. Because the city of Catam had not yet succeeded in jeopardizing the peace and quiet of Symviosi, whose guardians had for thousands of years been preserving the truth of its existence and the heritage that must never be jeopardized either. But now, a strange threat was beginning to hang over the people of Symviosi. Evil seemed to have returned. Until now, it had been barely visible, but its prey floated heavier and heavier and began to steal the respectability of the community's people. For example, the mayor, Alfred, was becoming ever more greedy for technology and other commercial expansions to satisfy his thirst for development. This made no sense to the guardians who were preserving the thousand-year-old port of Symviosi. But the guardians were getting old and no longer knew how to recognize danger, as they had unconsciously let it take Catam and its scientists by storm, losing all common sense as they sought a remedy for the fear of dying from their own stupidity. Fortunately, the guardians had decided to start passing on their knowledge. A strange force from who knows where commanded them to do this work, and with the utmost dignity. And that's where the Symviosi cycle begins. By learning more about ourselves and this city, which is home to characters who are ultimately little different from us here on our beautiful earth. But over there in the dark, mysterious forest, strange dealings have been going on ever since the dark elf queen Boya succeeded her husband, who died of exhaustion. He was forced to die in the face of the dismay of never seeing his son, Rixnat, again, his only heir banished by his own people. But Rixnat, better known as William in Symviosi and in the cities he had frequented until then, wasn't sure whether his people would ever again be able to understand the truth about his soul. They had become as black as their long hair and magnificent black pearls, those horses whose longevity exceeded that of their masters. The black elves appeared to be a threat to humanity in all four lands and seas, while the wolfmen mysteriously disappeared little by little, without a trace. Yet, these beings, direct descendants of the Red Moon, had no say in the strange evolution of civilization. But when one of them took charge of Ketham's famous science laboratory, strange things began to proliferate in this almost transhuman city. Good souls began to flee their gloomy destiny, some joining Symviosi, while others wanted to leave Symviosi, only to find themselves isolated by the fear of never being the perfect being they imagined themselves to be. And it's here that the Guardian's book leads you to the first of the adventures, that of the main character, the city itself. She will introduce us to those she will choose from among all those who will protect the future of her world, that of the four lands and four seas. She'll make you understand that there's no point in being the strongest to get to the truth about yourself. The truth that will now be necessary to unlock the destinies of Sharmina, Mia, and William, so that they can later find their way back to the solution they represent in the face of the noisy, threatening din of catamaran boot-stepping. Symbiosi's story isn't about destroying a world or making it uninhabitable for those who don't understand how it works. It's about the development of characters who will now have to take charge of their own lives before taking charge of what will make them beings worthy or bringing peace and courage to their adventure of reclaiming man in his most beautiful truth. But we are only at the beginning of this quest, for we must first understand why mankind in the four lands and four seas suddenly lost their feet and found themselves face to face with a demon as valiant as it is ancient. Gulve, the witch born of human madness and disrespect for the man and woman who gave birth to her. She became the burden that the people of the four lands and four seas now had to bear. For yes, by forgetting themselves in this way, humanity created the fear of losing everything, the fear of having to ignore everything about oneself, and above all the fear of no longer being in one's own soul body, incarnated on Symviosi, and everywhere else on this vast planet of many colors of all kinds. The fear of losing oneself therefore needed to highlight characters like Sharmina and her long healing from being without a future linked to the pain of an existence in disharmony with that due to her very epic birth. And, of course, sweet Mia, who from the height of her uncertainty about her ability to seduce a man, or quite simply herself, tried to heal humanity in a funny way, quite intolerable in the long run for her artist's spirit very close to nature. These two examples are not insignificant, but more than necessary to make you understand that Symviosi needs the help of everyone, and to reveal the horrors that fear can bring in the near future if a handful of souls don't stand up and tell the world to wake up to the torpor brought on by the famous fear of a witch, the one that feeds on the sliced grin of pain and agony, in the face of a world that no longer wishes to be benevolent to the human soul. This, dear friends, is the name of my first book, Symviosi, the Book of the Guardians. It will introduce you to a city and its inhabitants, all of whom come together in this special environment full of mystery and, above all, magic. Magic that the bearers of misfortune have forgotten to make us believe does not exist. But is it really that non-existent? Because the luminous beings who created this magnificent world of four lands and four seas, and whom you are about to discover, will also, in an equally mysterious way, bring together all the people who must restore hope, courage, and truth to this great organization that is life in general. The sequel will be even more full of extraordinary adventures to see and understand. In Volume 2, the King of the Earth will bring you the solution to reunite him with his ancestors and their true soul names. So, he can defeat the witch, who will have to wait until the third volume to disappear forever. But that's all I'm going to tell you, because to begin with, you have to understand why everything in a world starts to crack before you can repair it by believing in yourself, your creative soul, and everything that enables you to become one with yourself and others again. And it's here that all these characters will have to face up to their deepest desires, as well as the pains most ingrained in their long lives as souls lived on this beautiful land of four seas and four lands. I invite you to join me on this journey, as soon as the right person, respectful of the world and its creation, comes along to help me bring all these characters to life. Those who, like you, have been through a lot before understanding what the universe was asking of them in return. A realization that we are not made to be dominated by our fears or our defeats, but that we are here to carry the beautiful and magnificent light of hope of the little man or woman we all once were. Thank you for listening to this podcast, which is so special to me because a strange force is asking me to pass it on to you now, without detours and without sharing, so that I no longer regret not having been a strong woman myself, seeking at all costs to awaken my soul to the very awareness of what I should do in the future. And for me, it's a question of giving life to the smallest of characters, so that through their experience they too can find the truth that will guide them towards that famous day without fear of what the future will bring. Good night, before Symviosi's big wake-up call, because I know that the big day is finally coming. If you see me here, yes, you, beautiful soul, searching for the hope and peace of renewal for mankind, think of Symviosi and the power of the imagination to rally infinitely all souls from the deepest of California to the tallest of New York buildings. Because the peace of the heart and soul has no limits when destiny brings us together in the face of the great glimmer of hope of this famous American elephant.